Hi, welcome back to the channel. In today's lesson, we'll see the relationship between trigonometric and hyperbolic functions. That said, let's get started. Now, the first of its kind I want us to see is between Cosh or the cos of jx and Cosh x. Now, we know that Cosh x or the hyperbolic Cosh of x is given as e raised to power x plus e raised to power minus x over 2. We've established this in our previous lessons. We'll put a link to that lesson in the description. To ensure you don't miss such lessons, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If e raised to power x also, like e raised to the power of jx, is the same thing as the cos of x plus j, the sine of x. And e raised to the power of minus jx is the same thing as cos x minus j sine x. Let's call this equation 1 and let's call this equation 2. Now let's add both equation 1 and equation 2 together so that we'll have e raised to the power of jx plus e raised to the power of minus jx to be the same thing as 2 cos x. Invariably, the cos of x is the same thing as e raised to the power of jx plus e raised to the power of minus jx over 2. Now, with this, remember we're going towards cos of jx equals cos x. Now, let's replace x with jx so that everywhere I have x, I'll replace it with jx. So that this becomes the cos of jx will now be the same thing as e raised to the power of j. In place of x, I'll have jx plus e raised to the power of minus j. In place of x again, I'll have jx. So that this is over 2. So that the cos of jx invariably is the same thing as e raised to the power of j times j. Remember from complex numbers that the root of minus 1 is the same thing as j. So my j squared will be the root of minus 1 all squared, which is the same thing as minus 1. So in place of j times j, which is j squared, I'll have minus 1. Minus 1 times x, that's minus x, plus e raised to the power of, now I have minus j times j times j. That's minus times minus 1, which is plus. This is e raised to power x over 2. Now, obviously, the cos of jx is the same thing as e raised to the power of x. I'm only rearranging, plus e raised to the power of minus x now over 2. Look at this, you see it's very similar to what we have here. So we've been able to establish that the cos of jx is the same thing as the cos of x. Now let's look at it the other way around with the cos of jx now being equal to the cos of x. Initially, we established that the cos of x is the same thing as e raised to the power of x plus e raised to the power of minus x over 2. And we also established that the cos of x is the same thing as e raised to the power of jx plus e raised to the power of minus jx over 2. Now, this is my equation 1. Now, in equation 1, I want us to substitute jx for x so that it becomes the cos of jx. Now will be equals to e raised to the power of x. Everywhere we have x becomes jx plus e raised to the power of minus jx over 2. Now, if you look at this without missing words, you see that it's almost the same. It's just the same thing as this. So that we now conclude that our cos of jx is the same thing as the cos of x. Now, with this, I hope you understand the relationship between trigonometric functions and hyperbolic functions. In our next lesson, we use sine and sine. To ensure you get that lesson, please do not hesitate to hit the subscribe button. That way, you'll be sure to get notified when that lesson is made. Thank you, and see you in our next class.